a man suddenly received a strange package. It was impossible to make out with the naked eye. Only after magnifying it 55 times with special glasses could he see the recipient's information. It turned out to be a miniature planet, although its surface appeared utterly barren. In reality, the planet had long since developed a civilization no less advanced than Earth's. Poor Jack had simply gone out to buy some bread when he discovered that chaos had erupted outside. For some unknown reason, the city's residents began fleeing in a panic. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that above the city, a massive unidentified object had suddenly appeared. Passing airplanes couldn't turn in time, and crashed into a pile of wreckage right on the spot. However, the unidentified object causing such massive destruction was actually just the man's foot. Just as the man was about to take a step forward, he heard cries for help rising one after another from beneath his feet. But strangely enough, the man didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. So he instantly transformed into a demon, and crushed an entire city under his foot. In just a few minutes, he had traversed half the planet. At that moment, television stations around the world were reporting on this terrifying disaster. Because it happened so suddenly, the planet's inhabitants didn't even know where the disaster had originated. A family had simply wanted to spend a pleasant weekend, only to witness a scene they would never forget for the rest of their lives. The terrifying disaster grew ever more intense. Even before the military could muster its forces, they were crushed flat. The most outrageous part was that the very culprit behind all this destruction was strolling around the planet as if nothing had happened. Not only that, but he casually tossed his empty drink bottle onto the ground, unaware that while to him it was merely useless trash, to this planet it was no less devastating than a nuclear bomb. Jack never dreamed that just standing there daydreaming by the roadside would nearly cost him his life. A gigantic object came barreling toward him from behind out of nowhere. Jack ran for his life like a madman. He finally found a bicycle, only to discover it was locked. Then he found a car, only to find it was out of gas. The delivery driver searched for ages, but couldn't find the recipient anywhere. With no other choice, he dialed the recipient's number. But strangely enough, when the call connected, all he could hear were screams coming from the other end. What the delivery man didn't know was that his customer was currently facing a life or death crisis, and simply didn't have time to answer his call. Jack, who had tripped and fallen, watched as the soda bottle slowly approached him. Finally, overcome with fear, he closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he discovered he was still alive. It turned out the delivery man had followed the sound to the location of the soda bottle, but he still found nothing. So, in a fit of rage, he kicked the soda bottle into outer space. Unfortunately, Jack happened to be lying right on top of the bottle. To see a perfectly good planet destroyed like this was something no one could tolerate. So, they dispatched an entire, well-equipped military unit to launch a fierce attack on the man. However, though the firepower was intense, to the man it felt like nothing more than a tickle. Ultimately, unable to find his target, the man decided to turn back. Upon returning to the cockpit, the man discovered the package he was holding had vanished. He searched for a long time but found no trace of it. Since he couldn't contact the recipient anyway, the man decided to pretend the mission was complete and leave the planet. As the cursed spacecraft finally departed, cheers erupted across the entire planet. Unfortunately, their joy was premature. The spacecraft's tail fin erupted in a massive burst of flames, and temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees reduced the entire planet to ashes. Whether by luck or misfortune, Jack, floating in outer space, became the sole survivor. He had lost his home, but he had received his package.